How's it? How's it?
How's it? Right, I'm going to start the webinar because then at least people will come in if they're waiting.
Cool. I'll just leave my video on, huh?
Yeah, everyone can hear you now. Morning, everyone. Thank you for your patience. We had technical difficulties, let's call it that.
Yeah.
You'd think it was Monday morning the way the internet was working. Didn't want a bar of it. Morning, everyone. See lots of people coming in. Thank you for joining us. And thank you for your patience. I'm just going to go Facebook Live. So I'm just plugging that in. Morning, everyone. Thank you for joining us. Still morning in South Africa, right?
Yes.
10 past 11.
Morning somewhere in the world.
That's right. Yeah. People could be tuning in. People could be tuning in from somewhere else. All right. Good morning, everyone. I'm just going to try and go Facebook Live just because that way anyone who might want to catch it later. We'll be recording the session as well. So if you have to duck off or anything, fear not. We'll be recording everything. So don't swear, Nat.
Sure. Thank goodness. It's cold today, so I'm not sweating, so don't worry. Thank you for your consent. I appreciate it.
I was saying swear, not sweat.
Sweat, okay.
Swear. Yeah, well, maybe. All right, let me just try and get this up. Well, you know what? Well, oh, here we go. All right, we should live on Facebook as well. Welcome to the future.
Whoa.
All right.
When technology works, it works, eh?
I know, yeah. And when it doesn't, it really doesn't.
Magic happens.
Oh, all right. Let me share this up here for everyone. And we go back to the presentation here. All right. Well, we'll be starting shortly. Well, we're going to start now. I had these grand visions of like 10 minutes or something of people slowly filtering in. Let's just get started. I'm Stu from G Adventures. I'm joined by Nat. How are you, Nat?
I'm very well, thank you, Stu. I'm very happy to see your face. And hi, everyone. Welcome. I'm Natalie from Development Promotions, and I'm sure I can talk on behalf of everyone. We're all really excited to hear what you have to say, Stu, about small touring and the way forward. So it's really, really exciting. So thanks for being with us today.
Oh, thanks for having me.
Yeah, well, thank you. So, well, before we get on to the good stuff, I just want to chat to everyone quick and let you know, in terms of our travel trends that we are seeing with Development Promotions for January and February, we have noticed that there's been basically like a 95% international bookings versus 5% domestic, which is really, really exciting. I know there has been a massive focus on domestic bookings by a lot of agencies and a lot of companies because, we couldn't leave the country, but it is nice to see that there really is hope that people are booking. They're excited to go. Might not be many places we can go, but the places that we can go, we're pumping, which is exciting. So it's a glimmer of hope for all of us. It's really awesome. And something really even more exciting that very much exclusive to Development Promotions and what our awesome marketing has managed to do is for the whole of next week and for 1 week only, we've got exclusive deals on touring, sailing, cruising, beach holidays, bush breaks. So it'll be starting from Monday. It's going for 1 week and it's exclusive. You can only get through Development Promotion. So all of that will come out on Monday morning, which is awesome. And guys, it's really, some of the deals are amazing. So anything from 1,000 Rand to 10,000 Rand, which is epic. So look out for that. We're going to send all the information out to you. Thanks to the team for organizing. So before we start, I'm just going to get my tour guide flag because, that's how it is to be on a tour. Just kidding. That's about a myth, okay? I'm just lying. So Stu's here to break all the myths of small touring, and he's going to show us the way forward. Thank you to everyone for joining. Stu, the National Sales Manager, I might add, of G Adventures. Take it away.
Cool. Thanks. Oh, what an intro. Wow. Yeah, so I guess just to cover the standard housekeeping things, we're recording the session. So if you want to follow back on something later on, don't feel like you need to write down all the notes because you're going to miss it. Well, we can send it out to anyone that's attending, and it'll be up on the South African Agents of Change Facebook group as well, which I'll share details with you guys. And also, I'm sure you're not new to Zoom, but for the best viewing experience, be sure to go to the top and choose Fit to Window. And that way you'll see for example, the full G Adventures logo, rather than thinking, why is he only showing the corner of it? But I'm Stu, I'm the National Sales Manager. I'm based here in the UK at the current time, originally from Australia, and your weather is better than ours right now, but it is getting better. I've been with G Adventures for 8 years and very, very passionate about the brand. So I guess what we'll cover off today in the next half an hour or so is who are G Adventures, what trends have we seen in the small group touring space, what do we stand for, which is incredibly important to us and something that you don't always hear from brands, and most importantly, how we can help you. But let's start with the fun stuff. We've got agent discounts, and the reason I put this at the start is because if I'm talking about different trips throughout the next half an hour, you might be thinking, oh, I'd quite like that one, or I'd go away on that one with my partner or my friends. So the agent discount, 50% off, very few exclusions. So it's basically Antarctica is 25% off, or the Arctic. That's why it's not everything, but otherwise it's pretty much everything. And full details can be found in our agent system, or you can reach out to us or development promotions on that. And companions are 25% off as well. So some really good discounts. Now, I know I haven't really told you anything about our tours yet, but first I just want to get it straight out there and say we're running trips now. And the reason this is so exciting is because, late summer last year, late European summer, we were able to run some sailing in the Greek islands. We were able to run some Europe trekking. We're running trips in Costa Rica right now. And only last week, we had a group summit Kilimanjaro. It's a little bit closer to home for you guys. And we've got a trip running in Egypt right now. And the reason I want to mention that is because I think that's really important for yourselves and both your clients as well to know that whilst the world feels like it's on pause and no one's traveling and we're not traveling as much as we'd love to, people are getting out there. There is some opportunities for people to travel. Now, admittedly, in likes of Costa Rica, that's Canadians and Americans, or it's expats that live in Costa Rica or neighboring countries that are able to travel. We haven't got loads of Australians traveling, for example, or lots of South Africans unless they're expats. But it's just important to note, I guess, that when travel resumes and when you're next on a trip or your clients are next on a trip, then it is to say that, well, we're not just starting from zero, so we're building up some experience on the ground. And that means we've got travel with confidence covered. So up on our website, we've got our full travel with confidence policy, all the details there around how we're keeping people safe when they're traveling. And then we've got a little video. I'll just show a little bit of it because it goes for about 8 minutes. But it really is just to show you that, when we were running those trips earlier last year, this is mainly around Mont Blanc, we were able to practice, what does it look like for hand washing? What does it look like for meals? What does all of that look like in this kind of new world, at least in the short term until we get past these restrictions? So that's up on the website. It's perfect for your customers to see as well, because it may be that you've got people saying, look, I want to travel, but what's it going to be like? Do I have to wear a mask all the time? And do I need to be, 6 feet away from everyone else in the group? It all kind of goes on to explain that. So that might help kind of dispel some of the myths. But now that I've told you about the agent discounts, now that I've told you about the trips we're running, let's talk about who we are. So we're G Adventures, and the word adventure I often say, is the hardest part of my job. And that's because if you tell someone, oh, I've got a trip with G Adventures, they might think, oh, well, I'm not into adventure, because everyone has this own idea in their head of what adventure is. And for a lot of people, they think it's rock climbing, skydiving, things like that. They don't think it's what it actually is, which for us is about experiencing the world. So we're the biggest independent adventure travel company in the world, and we go to, I think, what's closer to 700 now tours in over 100 countries. So pretty much anywhere in purple. You'll see we've got a lot of Southern and Eastern Africa covered as well, together with Madagascar, almost all of South America, except for poor Paraguay in the middle there. A lot of Asia, basically anywhere your clients would go, we should have covered. And we're always looking at new trips as well. But I guess I'm just going to assume that Some people watching know nothing about us. So what do we do? Well, I like to say we do a bit less of this, which was clearly pre-COVID times. Really busy beaches, kind of compound resorts. There's certainly a place in the world for them, and there's the right type of customer. Even myself might go on one of those trips from time to time. But what we're all about is more like things like our Thai sailing. So I love this picture because it shows that this is some of the islands we go to on our Thai sailing. The sailing starts near Phuket, and then you'll actually sail overnight out to these remote islands that don't get the tourist day trippers. And I think that's really important, is that kind of sense of remoteness. And that's what's coming through in our trends as well, is people aren't flocking to downtown New York, at least on our style of trips. People are looking for these remote open spaces where they can explore the world, but also have a bit of distance as well. So the big thing for us, and I guess the core of our business, is small group adventures, maximum 16 people, average 12. And this is even more important in this kind of new world, to call it that, is that you're not going away with 40 people. These are much smaller groups, so you're able to maintain kind of distancing. You're able to ensure that even getting on and off transport, we're not waiting for a lot of people, and it makes us a lot more flexible and a lot more fluid. We've got small river adventures. So this one's in France. We've also got the Amazon. We've got the Mekong. We've got quite a big operation in the Galapagos as well, where we've got 5 vessels, really beautiful part of the world. The trip I can't stop talking about, we've got sailing in the Maldives, sailing in Europe as well. So Greek island sailing, Croatia sailing, we've got sailing in Sri Lanka, Thailand, and in the Caribbean as well, around Cuba and St. Lucia. And we've got our own little ship that goes to Antarctica and the Arctic. And if you've not seen her, she's only 134 passengers. Most ships have more crew than that. And here's a picture of her in red next to, I guess, a full-size cruise ship. She's such a beautiful little ship. So I'll just back up a little and say, what's adventure travel? I kind of covered this before, but you don't need to be this guy. You don't need to actually, know how to read maps and get out there and put yourself outside your comfort zone in that style. And it's certainly not all about rock climbing. There's no included rock climbing on any of our trips or anything like that. It's really about new and unique experiences. So one of the reasons we all love to travel is those experiences, whether it's, snorkeling with whale sharks in the Maldives, or trying guinea pig, maybe in Peru, the national delicacy. So those little things that when you come back, you remember that from the trip. You don't necessarily remember the hotel or the flight. Most flights are quite forgettable unless you're fortunate enough to be in business or first class, but it's those experiences which really stay with you. So the other advantages of a small group trip, you avoid tourist traps because you're a lot smaller, so you don't need to go in, say, the group entrance that you might need to at different museums and such. Big thing for us is you're traveling with a local. So the reason that's always been important, and I think even more important, is, if you're traveling with the group and then people have got a question, well, if you're traveling in a country where English isn't the native language, then your local guide's going to speak Spanish. They're going to speak Afrikaans, maybe, if we've got an international traveler coming to South Africa. And that's incredibly important because you can ask any question you may have. Should you need assistance, in this kind of COVID era, God forbid, then you've got someone that's got a local SIM card that knows the best places to go. And of course, on the best places to go, they know the best restaurants. Just in the same way, if someone came to your town, you could say, oh, don't go there, go here. And that's why it's so important to travel with the local. The trips are also great for meeting other travelers. So in 2019, to give you an example of a, I guess, quote unquote, normal year, we had over 100 nationalities travel with us. And that's why when you think, oh, I'm going to go away on this great trip to Morocco, you're not necessarily thinking, I'm going to meet this great couple from Australia or America or Germany, but they really become part of the flavor of the trip. So it's not only that you're trying the Moroccan tagine, all this beautiful food there, but you're meeting all these other people and discussing, well, any number of things, maybe usually American politics, but maybe not so much anymore. And the big thing is that we've got something for everyone. So we've got trips for kids, we've got trips if you're all the way up to, well, there's no upper limit, but our record's 92, I think. We had someone travel with us 92 to Namibia. So yeah, something for everyone. So you'll find all this on our website. Don't feel like you need to write it down, like I said, but we split it into different travel styles. So that is to say, we've got our classic trips, which are really about getting under the skin of the destination. If you had to put a star on them, and we don't really like doing that, but it would kind of be 3-star comfortable accommodations. Our 18 to 30 somethings, as the name suggests, are for those that are age 18 to 39. They're obviously a little bit cheaper as well, and they'll use multi-share accommodation in some destinations. Or if you're overlanding with us in Africa, then it will be camping, which can obviously get you really close to some of the wildlife preserves. We've got active trips, so climbing Kilimanjaro being one of those. Marine I touched on before, which was Galapagos, Antarctica. Wellness trips, incredibly important in this new, I keep saying new world, but wellness is always important, and mental health. Local living, we've got a whole bunch of those around the world where, as the name suggests, you live like a local. So you're kind of staying in one place. And to give you an example of one we have in Italy, it's an agriturismo. So it's a Tuscan farmhouse. That means you've got great views looking over the vineyards. You learn to make wine and pasta, and there's a swimming pool. Sounds perfect. It's a bit like, I guess, Airbnb in that, you know, you go and live as a local, but you've got that small group and you've got things like the cooking classes built in. And then we've got trips like our National Geographic ones, which I'll come on to. So I want to kick off and tell you, I guess, some of the trends we've seen over the past 12 months in particular. These are global, but they're also applied to South Africa. So the biggest things that we've seen coming through this entire time, we've always had bookings. We never had a day without bookings, which has been great, especially considering we're coming up on a year since the first pandemic kind of took hold. The first thing's that bucket list. So I think what people have realized is they've been locked down. They've had local lockdowns in some countries, citywide lockdowns. You know, maybe they've had a partner test positive, or they've tested positive for COVID and they had to stay in the house. People have decided, when I get out there, I want to do those things I always wanted to do. And it's not necessarily because they think, you know, oh dear, I'm going to pass away or anything like that. It's that I want to get out there and I've always wanted to go and do this. And now, you know, I want to get out and I want to tick that off. Part of that has been active and trekking. So in most parts of the world, the only way you could leave the house if you had a lockdown was to go and exercise. So we found an increase in people that were taking out walking and cycling. And that's been showing through in trips we've seen people interested in, such as Everest Base Camp or climbing Kilimanjaro, like I mentioned, the Inca Trail. That's all coming through. Europe, I think perhaps because of the idea that as a block, as a collection of countries, that they've got a handle on the vaccinations, and then once you can travel into one country in Europe, then you should be able to travel within them. So we've certainly seen that, obviously, from the UK being a close neighbor, that you'll be able to go into Europe perhaps sooner than other parts of the world. So we've seen a trend there. Not only just Kilimanjaro, but we've seen a big lift in safaris in East Africa. So Kenya predominantly, and Tanzania as well. And I think that also comes down to that bucket list. I've got a colleague who flew out and he did a safari the other day, and they arrived at Pride of Lions, no other vehicles around. Whereas if you've ever been on safari or seen some pictures, you'll find that all the guides talk to each other and you might end up with 10 vehicles at one Pride of Lions. So it's actually a really nice time to be traveling. And then the last one is local travel. So local being that, you know, people within South Africa looking at Botswana, looking at Namibia, looking at Zambia, you know, in kind of the neighborhood where the borders might be open sooner. So they're kind of the biggest trends that we've seen coming through. And then a couple of specific trips based around those. So the Maldives, which I always talk about, we got our Maldives Doni cruise. This is on the agent 50% off, by the way, because that makes it about 10,000 Rand, which is pretty good. And this is all about sailing around in our Maldives Doni for 7 days from Malé. All your food's included. It's really just about snorkeling and sunbathing. And yeah, there's another picture of it. And yes, it's on the 50% off. And you might be wondering, well, what are you doing in the Maldives? Like sailing around? Can we go to the fancy resorts? Well, obviously we can't show up at the fancy resorts because we're doing our own thing, but we'll go to little remote islands like this. So we'll moor up, and you can go ashore and have a little wander around on deserted islands, which I think is lovely. Morocco's been doing really well. We hope to start running trips in Morocco very shortly. To give you an example of one of the trips, we've got Morocco, Casbahs and Desert. I've done this one. It was the National Geographic version, but I've done this one. So you're going to Fez, to the tannery, which is in the top left corner. You might have heard about that. It's unfortunately closed when I went. We're going to Ait Ben Haddou, which is featured in many different films, including Game of Thrones. And we're going to one of our Planetera projects as well in Meknes for a community lunch, which is that bottom left corner there. Morocco, very popular with South Africans, is what we found, and this is incredibly good value. I mentioned East Africa as well. So just to cover off one of the quick trips we've got there. So we've got the Kenya camping safari, starts and finishes in Nairobi. Yeah, of course, you have to go to Masai Mara, Lake Nakuru as well. And then we're also, of course, doing a village visit as well to see the Masai. And then something that I mentioned has been coming through quite a lot is Kilimanjaro. So had a lot of agents actually approaching us saying, look, I'd like to climb Kilimanjaro. Can I put together a group? So if you put together 11 other people, then you get your own spot free, or we can just, build it in so that, I guess, instead of free, everyone could save a certain percent. And it could be a great opportunity for you to go away and do kind of a trip of your own and bring along your clients as well, perhaps. And then Southern Africa. So we have so many trips. I actually just took a screenshot, which I'll give you a second to have a look at there just while I catch my breath. So I think there's 25 trips or something that feature I can't say it now. I feel like it's the audience because you guys know how to say it. That go to Namibia. I'll get it right. Lots of different trips that start in Cape Town, go to Windhoek, go to across to Vic Falls. So if you've got someone that's looking for that kind of local almost trip, then we've got lots of different trips there as well, including ones that go further up to Nairobi. But given they cross a lot of borders, I don't expect they'll be one of the first ones to run. But some of these kind of Cape Town to Windhoek, I think could be really great. Just want to cover off quickly for anyone that maybe have clients looking to get to Europe, or you're looking to get to Europe. Because of this trend, we've launched a whole new range of Europe trips. So we've got trips in Iceland, Corfu, Northern Greece, Piedmont, where you walk through vineyards drinking wine as you're hiking, which sounds like the perfect trip, to be honest. Slovenia, the Azores. And then to highlight just a few here quickly, so brand new hiking the Canary Islands. Now, I'm not sure how many people are coming from South Africa to Europe and then going to the Canary Islands, to be honest, but you may have people that are interested in this style of hiking that want to get out there and see something different. So I wanted to make sure I highlighted those. We've got sailing the Canary Islands, brand new trip as well. And then we've got hiking Crete. So that was just highlighting a few of them, but they're obviously all up on our website. So I did want to cover, it might sound like I'm doing a bit backwards to do this at the end, but what's different with G Adventures? So I'd mentioned at the start is like, what's our purpose and what's our way? The main thing is that responsible travel is everything for us. So we don't consider it, say, like a bolt-on. So there's plenty of businesses out there that say, oh, we're a great business and we also have this kind of charity wing or that kind of thing. And everyone gives back in their own way. So we've really built it into the tour. And there's a few things I'll go over just to explain that. The first being that we're not a tour operator, which can sound a little confusing, but that's because we consider ourselves a social enterprise. And that means that we want to make profit, just like anyone else does, but we don't want to do it at the expense of the places we visit and the people we visit. We want to make sure that we are sending money back into the local economy. And just to quote our founder, Bruce, who mentions this all the time, he believes that travel can be the greatest form of wealth distribution the world has ever seen. And that is to say that generally, the wealthy nations travel to the poorer nations. And when you're traveling there, you're staying in hotels, you're eating at restaurants, you're buying souvenirs. And that means just by going on a holiday, just by going on a trip, that you are impacting the lives of others around the world. So I know that we're all missing travel right now. We're all hurting. There's obviously a lot of inbound businesses, maybe wineries, hotels that are hurting in, say, South Africa because tourists aren't coming in. And then equally, that's being felt all around the world. So the little villages and restaurants we might go to in Peru or Ecuador or, Everest in Nepal, they're all hurting as well. So something that we actually did way back in 2016 was we put a score on how much money makes it into the local economy. And we called it the Ripple score. It was initially called, I think, the G score or something like that, the G local score, that's what it was. But we decided we'd love other people to adopt this, so we called it the Ripple score. And the idea is, if you got off a plane and let's say you had 1,000 Rand, how much of that money would actually, or let's say 100, it's a little bit easier, how much of that money made its way into the local economy? So when you go and buy a meal, are you buying it from the Golden Arches or from a really big international restaurant, or you're buying it from a little locally owned restaurant? When you stay at a hotel, is it a big international one, or is it a little owned independent hotel? And that's all incredibly important, because really we want as much money as possible to stay in the local economy. And there's actually a stat that globally, usually only around 5% of money spent in a country stays in that country, which is a bit sad when you think that you go and spend your money and you think it'll stay there, but it might leave the country due to foreign ownership. So if you've read the slide there, you'll see that we're sitting at about 93% on average, and we have a lot of trips that are 100. So we're very proud of that, and it's very important to us. The other thing that I guess is kind of key to us that I want to mention is we don't have guides, which might sound a little confusing, but if you're familiar with us and look up on our website, you'll see it's because we call them Chief Experience Officers. And that's really because when you're out on that trip, the most important person that kind of gives you the great experience, teaches you everything about the local life, about culture and everything, is the local guide. So we elevate them with the title of CEO, which of course normally is the leader of a business, but we've kind of said, look, who's the most important person in the business? And it's our local guides, it's our Chief Experience Officers. So if you're ever looking on our website and it says trip includes a CEO, we don't have the founder of the company going on every single tour. Of course, that's what we would call our local guide. The other thing which is really important to us is guaranteed departures. Now, I'll be honest, we shied away from this a little bit in the last year, and that's because, of course, guaranteed for us was that there's no minimum numbers for a trip to run. So, of course, you might all be familiar, if there's not enough people to go on a trip, then some operators will say, I'm sorry, it's half full, so we can't run it. But for us, we've always said, look, we will run the trip because we're really committed to that experience for the customer, but also that we don't want to have, or we don't have big groups. So we're really only trying to get 12 people quite often. Of course, the caveat with this is that we can't go to a country that's on lockdown, a country that doesn't let people in. So just, I guess, something to keep in mind in the future, if you're thinking about booking for 2022 or late 21, if there's enough people on it, and if the country's open, then the trip's going to run. I wanted to quickly cover National Geographic again, so that's why I've just highlighted it there. So I'm sure you've all heard of National Geographic. Maybe you've heard of our partnership with them. It's really quite exciting because if you've got clients that haven't heard of G Adventures, hopefully they've heard of National Geographic. So what was really great about this is, I think as far back as 2016, perhaps, just trying to remember, they approached us and said, look, let's work together. Let's put together a range of exclusive trips that will include inclusions that you wouldn't normally find that National Geographic has access to. So that's through all of their non-profit work they do around the world, their conservation work. And we said, yeah, sounds like a good idea. So there's about 80 or 90 trips on the website. Feel free to have a look. You may have seen some of them before. And we would call these our most comfortable trips. So they use upgraded accommodation, which is our nicest accommodation. And like I said, they've got those inclusions. So on this one, we visit a sea turtle conservation in Tortuguero National Park, and that was co-founded by National Geographic. And then there's an example here in America that we're actually going into Monterey, exclusive behind the scenes access to Monterey Aquarium. So yeah, for your curious travelers, obviously they're familiar with National Geographic, so we're also going to make sure that they get some kind of pre-reading as well before the trip. And then I wanted to quickly mention National Geographic Family Journeys. So this was by extension of the National Geographic trips. And these are our 12 trips around the world, or 12 destinations rather, where we've got 2 local guides, 2 CEOs. And the idea is that it's families traveling together. So if you've got kids, you're not going away and you're the only person with kids on the trip. People thinking, oh, why are they throwing their food off the table or something like that? Why are they being noisy? Instead, it's families traveling together, which means the kids get to learn about the destination they're going to. You also get to meet some other great kids from around the world. So they're really fantastic trips. And then I wanted to mention briefly our Travel with Confidence Plus collection. I realize I mentioned a lot of different trips, but just to summarize, what we did is we took around 37 of our top selling trips and we've made them a plus trip. So essentially that means for 2021, the groups are even smaller, so 12 people. The transport is all private. The My Own Room, which is the option to have your own room rather than share, twin share, is 50% off, and they've all got en suites. And these are for perhaps the cautious travelers that are saying, look, I'm ready to go to Costa Rica, but I want to look at the plus collection because I want that slightly smaller group, 12 instead of 16. Excuse me. I want the private transport, because we can maintain the cleanliness of the vehicle. And I want to, of course, make sure I have my own ensuite, which is what most trips have anyway. So if you've got anyone that's kind of in that bucket, so to speak, check those out. And then we're nearing the end now. We've got our Book Your Bubble collection. So I mentioned private groups earlier if you want to go away and do your own trip to, say, Kilimanjaro. Our Book Your Bubble collection is all about I guess just to backtrack the trend that we've seen is that people want to go away with their friends and family that haven't seen them in so long, either within a country or internationally. And there's a sense that people want to come together for this big trip. I keep hearing everyone's got all these savings built up from not having holidays for 2 years. I don't think I have any savings, but people keep saying they've got all these savings built up and they're ready to go away. And, grandparents want to reconnect with grandchildren. Everyone wants to see each other again. So basically the Book Your Bubble is really good because it's essentially a small private group. If you book 8 travelers, then the 8th spot's 50% off. And if you book 12 travelers, the 12th spot's free. And if you're looking at our European sailing, you get those 7 people, then the 8th spot is free. So lots of great potential there for you to be promoting small private groups. So if people aren't comfortable going away with, I guess, quote unquote strangers, then they can go away with their friends and family on our trips. So like I said, rounding out now just to talk about how we can help you. So we've got our Facebook group, which you might be viewing this Facebook Live on. If you're not, then feel free to jump over and join it. We're sharing up any offers that we've got, anything that we're working on, bit of fun as well, and any of our marketing assets, which is a nice little segue. So if you're not signed up already to brand.gadventures.com, it's all free. There's over 8,000 images and videos there. There's our logos if you want to use them. But the key takeaway there is, everyone's tried to promote a trip or a location and thought, right, I need pictures. So you go to Google, try and find some pictures, hope you don't get in trouble for using them, try and find a good quality picture. The advantage of this, on that little scroll through, you could see, I think that was Central America, is you go in, you type in Peru, you type in wellness, you type in hiking, and you get a whole bunch of pictures that you're able to use on your own social media to promote our trips. So that is to say, and I'll see whether I get this wrong, buy a donkey. Hopefully I got that right and didn't insult an entire nation. Thank you, everyone. And we'll now have a look and see if there's any questions. Have I got you there, Nat?
I'm here.
Oh,
you
good.
Nailed it.
Oh, yes. Okay. I didn't insult a nation.
No, you did really good. And I know you've been practicing literally all day. So well done. I'm very proud of you. You did a good job.
Let's have a look. I think there's some questions come in. For the Maldives, do they include fishing? Yeah, I know a colleague that's done the trip, and you can go fishing with the skipper, and then quite often you'll have that for lunch, if you wish. Of course, you don't just have to have fish. A few people saying thank you. I think Jane might have been pottering away in the background. Jane works with me here. She's not on camera, but she's hiding back there, and I think she's been answering some questions for everyone.
I have. Thanks for attending, everyone. I hope you enjoyed it.
Where would a COVID test be done in the Maldives? Oh, I'm glad I know this question. So we ran some trips over December. So we had this couple that went on 2 back-to-back trips for Christmas into New Year, which sounds like the best way to spend that time of the year. And we'd actually already pre-prepared that we would go to a jetty where the Maldivian government had already set up a testing facility, so we could get the test and then you could fly back, because of course quite often you need a negative test to get back into a country, or a negative test when you jump over to perhaps a resort after going on our sailing. Someone said, I have an 80-year-old going on a tour. What style do you recommend? Going with her grandson? I guess it depends. Like, are they young at heart? I mean, if you've got an 80-year-old, are they happy to stay in what would probably be considered a 3-star, or, you know, do they want the finer things in life? Are they happy with kind of a 4-star like our National Geographic? I would say based on the level of activity you normally find in a trip, it's probably going to be the National Geographic, just because it's usually less walking, less going up and down stairs, things like that. So the accommodation we use for National Geographic is more likely to have, you know, a lift, an elevator, rather than having stairs. But it would probably really come down to where they want to go, because obviously there's different challenges in different countries. Do we assist with COVID tests? Not explicitly, but if someone needs a test, then obviously usually the whole group will. So we'll be aware of where they need to go and get it on that last day or 2 days before the end, depending on when the test needs to be done. It's not something that's kind of built into the website or anything like that, but we can assist. With the hiking, would there be a level of fitness required? Yep, I didn't actually mention it, but up on our website, it will give a rating from 1 to 5, and something like Everest Base Camp or Kilimanjaro is 5, usually because you're going to altitude. But generally speaking, most of the trips we do, except maybe the Lost City trek in Colombia, which Jane did, and it's ridiculous, incredibly hard. It's the humidity mainly. But with the exception of that, I would say anyone of reasonable fitness can do most trips. Obviously, if you're going to climb Kilimanjaro, don't think that it's the same as climbing Table Mountain. You know, obviously do your preparation and be prepared. But there's really good information on our website about what to pack, and even tips on which muscles to build up or exercise for different types of trekking. Just seeing if any more questions have come in. Of course, you think of questions later, you can shoot them through to Nat, and she can pass them on to myself or write them on the Facebook group. Anyone got any more questions that we perhaps didn't answer? No, lots of people saying thank you. Well, like I said, if you think of anything later on, then do let us know. Thank you for your patience, as we had some technical issues at the start, but I'm glad that we could still get this done. And thank you for everyone for joining us. Anything you want to say, Nat?
No, thank you for everything. It was really, really awesome and quite inspirational. And I think it's something that we all really needed, just to hear like there are trips running. And even though, you know, we all love travel, but it's been quite a hectic time for everyone. So it's nice to just get a bit of positive spin and to just feel inspired and excited about traveling again. And so thank you. I feel like you did a really excellent job. Je het baie goed gedoen. That is Afrikaans for you nailed it. We're very proud.
I'm not going to try and say that. I'll end up saying something offensive if I try and say that.
We need to practice again, I think, before. So, and also thanks to everyone for joining. And yeah, look out for those deals next week. Very excited to get that out to the market and get people traveling, get people excited again.
Yeah, remember why we love travel. We didn't get into travel to talk about cancellations and refunds. We got into travel to talk about all these beautiful places that we want to go. So yeah, keep in mind that agent discount if you want to plan something yourself, even for 2022, because there's you can book any time. It's always nice to have something to look forward to.
Totally, I'm ready.
Let's go Maldives sailing, you and me.
Yeah, I'm in. My bag's packed already. Let's go. I'm wearing a bikini already. I'm ready to go right now. See you tomorrow.
Janet's asked, will the deals be on the G website? No, they're exclusive to DP, so they'll be on you'll only find them with DP.
Yeah, we'll send everything out. Everything will be online. Don't worry, we'll make sure that everybody gets all the information that they need. We also have our Facebook page for DP, so hop onto that, and there'll be a mailer coming out as well. But all of us are available. It's natalie@devprom.co.za if you need any extra help, and all your sales reps in all the different regions are available as well for any questions.
Yep, and Jane, as Jane's pointed out in the chat, it's only 1,000 Rand deposit.
Yeah, that's cool.
Excellent. Cool. All right. Well, thank you, everyone. Thank you for joining, and we'll share the recording as well if there's anything you missed.
Awesome. Happy Thursday.
Happy Thursday.
Thursday.
Bye, everyone.